Hello, I'm Christina McCarron. I am the NDP candidate in Waverly, Fall River, Beaver Bank.
And I'm Lyle Mailman. I am the administrator for the Beaver Bank Community Watch. And we're here at the Beaver Bank Lions Club today to talk to the MLA candidates for Beaver Bank, Waverly, Fall River. And we hope everyone gets out to vote. And so today we're doing Beaver Bank questions and getting to learn a little bit more about our candidates and what they see, what they hope to do. So, yeah. Kind of the first question is why you're running? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a mother of three, and I've lived in Wellington for 23 years with my husband Dana, and I have always been interested in politics. I come from a political family, and my mother ran for the NDP, and my aunt ran for the NDP, and I have uncles, grandfather, great-grandfather that were all, they were municipal councillors. And it's just something I've always had in the back of my mind. And when COVID started, or when the pandemic began, I was working at the airport and I was laid off, and I just had more time to think about these, just how important it was just to have community support during this really difficult time. And I had the support of my family, and my children moved out during the pandemic, so I had more time to myself. So that's when I decided to.
What do you see as there's usually one bit of inspiration that kind of says, yes, I'm going to be a public representative, I'm going to try for that. What would you say that one piece of inspiration was to bring you to running?
Well, I'd say it was my mother. She's been gone for 28 years, and she always told me that we need more women in politics, and we need, if you can complain all you want about how things are in the world, but if you're not going to step up in a political platform, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to make any change. So the only way to make change is to become politically involved. So that was my main reason.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank
awesome. You. Yeah, finding something that it takes a lot of courage to step up to it, and definitely finding something that to make a change, to do a bit more, to do things for the people around you in your community, and to be the voice.
Yeah.
Right? To be the voice. So we're going to get into the Beaver Bank questions. Mm-hmm. I have sent the questions to the candidates because they're Beaver Bank. We have some things going on that does take a little bit of thinking and a little bit of checking and talking to people and seeing. So here's question one. Beaver Bank has had the Murchison Drive connector, Beaver Bank bypass, on promised and then removed from provincial plans. Having one way in or out has been a safety concern. We've seen Murchison be built from the 101 to Middle Sackville, the Aerotech connector from the 102 to Wellington, being constructed with no plans to extend the Beaver Bank Road. These connections would allow Hants County traffic and trucks from the three quarry operations to be routed to a collector road and 102. This would allow for speed adjustments to permit more crosswalks, create a transit loop so students could get to Lockfield, a second exit entrance to Beaver Bank. What are your thoughts on what can be done and what it could do for community connections?
Thank you. Well, as I've gone door to door in Beaver Bank, residents have complained about their number one issue is transportation and transit problems. and it's the #1 issue. I've heard about the large trucks barreling through the community and about the speed of traffic and the difficulty for seniors and families to cross the streets because of lack of crosswalks and the reduction in transit services. These are big problems. There's a clear lack of overall transportation planning in this growing area, and as an MLA, I will facilitate meetings between the Provincial Department of Transportation and HRM to get updates on the status of various proposed transportation projects. I know HRM endorsed the Murchison Drive extension in 2005. That's 16 years ago. We must find ways to get those large trucks off the streets that are going through the community and onto the major highways. We need to know what current transportation plans the province and the province and HRM have been planned. Make sure that residents of Beaverbank can provide meaningful input to decisions about transportation plans affecting their community, and work with Councillor Lisa Blackburn to bring the various players together so that we can get straight answers and updates. And the NDP government will work in partnership with HRM to make sure public transit is a priority for pandemic recovery spending, and that public transit must be extended in Beaverbank as well as in Fall River. Public transit will reduce the number of vehicles clogging our streets, and we'll consider the options for commuter rail. We have the rail corridors, and we should make better use of them. And we will include communities in the planning of transportation routes and options. And the last one is support active transportation like cycling with bike lanes and paved shoulders.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, #2, the province issues a list of schools getting work done to them. There's 2 schools in Beaverbank that are in desperate need of repairs, but yet they're not on the list. So, Harold T. Barrett requires major repairs. Kinsack Elementary received some roof work about 7 years ago. They had bad mold and things. It's an older building. A portion of it was built in 1968. And then Monarch Elementary, the roof's deteriorating, the gutters are clogged, there's grass growing in the gutters, forcing water kind of into the schools. And there's a pigeon colony too. So, there's some things that are really have been lacking in priority for deferred maintenance, I guess. So what would you do to ensure the schools in Beaverbank get repaired?
Well, I would facilitate community discussions with the Department of Education and the Halifax Regional Centre of Education, formerly HRM, formerly the school board, to find out what are the plans for repairs and what are the long-term plans for school development in the area, and make sure the parents and the teachers, the youth and the staff have meaningful input into planning and for school construction and repair. I talk to teachers on the doorstep who work at HT Barrett, and I talked to another teacher that worked at Beaverbank Kinsack, and they complained about mold, air quality, overcrowding, pre-primary. One teacher was a pre-primary teacher, and she said there isn't enough room for all the students, and they need a new school basically, because once mold gets in there, it's really hard to get that out without
without a serious amount of investment and maintenance is the big thing. When something comes, our schools can be the basis of a community for families that move here, and we have a lot of turnover, new residents coming in.
Yeah.
And to have a building and something that people are proud of and can use as a community center to help have activities and things like that. It's paid a lot in tax dollars to have them crumble, that's for sure.
And it's a growing community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get to Woodbine. Woodbine, now that our election district is all one, Woodbine is now our district's largest and most dense neighborhood of affordable housing. There have been long-standing concerns by its residents. Water meters were mandated to be installed on homes in Woodbine. There's water quality issues. There's a terrible discoloration. Halifax Water says the water's clean to the park. There's been a notice from the park that the water pressure spiked when they did a main repair, causing damage to the park pipes. So that's happening now that people's bathtubs are filled with dirt, their hot water tanks have now sedimented and those kinds of things. So it can get expensive. There's no crosswalk that is permitted as you come up by Chen's and Dean's Hill for the bus stop. There's a lack of public recreation facilities or programs and parks for the youth. There is no operating homeowners association to represent homeowners with kind of broad issues and individual ones educating themselves with park management or the tenancy board. So the issues with park management that have kind of been inconsistent in its requirements for homeowners. What would you do to help support and represent the residents of Woodbine?
Well, I would use my MLA resources and my own community experience to bring Woodbine residents together, and we would consider setting up a Woodbine Residents Association, because they're not all homeowners, some of them rent. I realize that. And as an MLA, I would contribute meeting space and resources. So let's say they wanted to make photocopies or use the space for meetings. We would definitely help with that and get in touch with the members, support the association to provide residents with a stronger voice in discussions with the owners of the park over park issues. And we would discuss with HRM about crosswalks and where can we put a crosswalk that's safe. And we would definitely support recreational facilities in the area and talk to Halifax Transit about bus routes. There is strength in numbers, so the more people we have together, the stronger we will be. And we'll facilitate discussions with HRM, residents, service clubs, and other associations to start planning for much needed recreational facilities.
I like your idea of the Residents Association. That's an excellent thing to consider, as with knowing more about a tenant's rights, where you own a property or you own the home, but you're leasing the property. It's a land lease thing.
Right.
So getting a central place for residents just to kind of gain knowledge as to what their rights are and what can be consistently should be expected just would help with a person's general comfortness of being in their home, in their community, and not having kind of that layer of stress or anxiety sort of thing of what am I going to be asked to do when I know I can't be asked to do it, kind of thing, right? Definitely something I've heard about and people have talked about on the Community Watch page. So, yeah.
I think Woodbine's a very vibrant, close-knit community. I have some friends that live there, and I used to drive a school bus out of H.T. Barrett and Beaver Bank Monarch for years. And so I really got to know they're just a very tight-knit community, and they just really seem to just like it's like just a community. Woodbine itself, there were a lot of children that live in there, and they're probably much older now.
Yes.
But they just they're really good friends and lively bunch.
Yes. Yeah. I grew up there. That's my first place when I was born. And, you know, kind of Woodbine for life, friends for life.
Yeah.
Even though I'm across the pond, I come down with my four-wheeler and plow a skating rink. Because that's what we used to do when we were kids. So, I think there's, I know that the youth need a little something. What could be done in the park is really up to the park owners, but something that way, that area just outside the park, if we could find space to have something, I think it's a wonderful opportunity that should be explored.
Yeah, it's kind of, because the houses or the homes are so close together, it's kind of like you're all camping, so you really, that's what some children describe it as.
Absolutely, yeah. And
they live close together.
Yeah, and you're in Beaver Bank, so you get to do the people together with nature.
Yeah, but you definitely need more, basketball court, an outdoor skating rink, or swimming pool would be really great.
Yes.
If you had an outdoor pool.
Outdoor pool.
Or I think it's a lot cheaper to put an outdoor pool than an indoor pool. Those are just some ideas.
So Beaver Bank is unique to the Fall River Waverly Beaver Bank riding, as residents shop and commute through Sackville. But our children go to school down Wingate to Lockview High. Beaver Bank has been split into two ridings, is now together for this election in the riding. What could be done to make better community connections for Beaver Bank, Fall River, Waverly? And, whether it's transit or infrastructure, yes, we've discussed that. What could be done for community, for us to feel a part of a community as a riding, and it's not just a political alliance sort of thing? Right.
Well, when my children started Lockview, they made lots of friends from Beaver Bank, and the only way to get them to their friends' houses was to drive them, because there isn't any way to get them here due to lack of transit. So I think that's number one, of course, is getting more transit to help residents and parents. If your child is playing a game or participating in a band concert, it'd be really nice if they could go and watch it with it. What if they don't have a car? If you had like a community bus that would take, if everybody chipped in $5 or something, because you can rent buses not too expensive, especially through, it's not stock anymore, Southland, but you can rent buses pretty cheaply with a qualified driver to take residents, to take children or parents back and forth to Fall River area, to Lockview. And I think that as far as activities goes, I just think we need better, more things for youth to do, so there'd be less chances for them to, get into mischief. If there were more sport activities or music or,
They have, concentrated, whether, Fall River has the community center with the gym. We have a community center. Our gyms are booked from the community center through the schools. So there are definitely some things that way. And that's what, hopefully, and it's volunteer driven, but also helped with government, of having celebrations like the Clues in Windsor Junction, as that occurs. It's a pretty big event, and it can draw people from around the whole area. And if there was a few more things that Beaver Bank could do or put together, that would also help. But it is a large district. It goes from North Beaver Bank down to really goes to Avery's, and then across Wingate and through Fall River into Waverly to Dartmouth, basically, and then all the way up to
the big stop.
Everywhere in between and everything in between.
And up to Pear and Drive.
So
yeah.
we're on that separated V sort of thing, but as it's growing and expanding, you know, it's an exciting time.
It is.
That some things can change, and that there be good things for the community.
But I definitely think transit is the way to go, in the form of buses or bring back the rail, and trains. But you'd have to talk to CN and
yes, and
transit.
that's we'll get into that one as well.
And that's federally and municipal and everything.
And, yeah,
everybody's involved.
Yeah, the tracks are the railway system in CN is a complicated relationship, as we found out with our crossing at that Wingate intersection. But I think that one's a little further down the list.
Right.
Good segue, but
sure.
So Beaverbank has had significant loss of services. Our bus route got shortened in half in the community. It's expanded how quickly you get downtown at any time of day, but it cut off the top 7 kilometers. So that has also been one of the reasons for the closing of our largest employer in Ivy Meadows, continuing care facility, and also the community hub office at the community center is closed. The MLA office has always been in Fall River, Waverly. Would you commit to having your MLA office in Beaverbank to provide a needed community resource?
Yes, you're right. There's never been an MLA office in Beaverbank, and I can't give a firm commitment at this time for locating my office here. But if elected, I'll search through the various parts of this riding to find a space, and it's about accessibility.
Yes.
So it was very difficult for us to find a campaign office during this campaign at the beginning because of its accessibility, and there's just not a lot of spaces available. But I would certainly look at renting an office in Beaverbank. Absolutely, it's a beautiful place, and why not? It's very central to every area in the riding, so I would definitely look at that. Yes.
And even for a beginning, for getting Beaverbank some resources, somewhere to call if you wanted to have a meeting or something along that lines, and also being able to use the MLA's assistant, who they're fantastic. Any MLA's assistant, they are a social worker, they are a community helper, they field a lot of questions and things that there's people that need help, and sometimes it's just that one phone call, that one resource that community member can go to. And that kind of, yes, there's a challenge of space. Where could a resource go? We've been limited in our development. Like, we need like a little professional plaza or a thing that could host something like that. And really, as we look, without building something new, which obviously couldn't happen, it's just kind of like, there's a space at Tucker Lake Pizza. What would that be or look like? Is there something at the community center? Not entirely sure, just the way it's built with its office spaces. So,
We'd look at it for sure.
Something to look at.
Yeah.
Or hopefully somebody plans for it and builds something too.
True.
Because until you build it, it can't come.
Right.
Right?
That's true.
So the residents in Beaverbank have had a couple issues that have gone before the Nova Scotia Utility and Review Board that have caused great concern. The infamous Wingate-Beaverbank Road intersection. The last train was 12 years ago on the Windsor line, and the intersection is yet to be upgraded. the Nova Scotia Utility and Review Board found that the volunteer Uniac Rails to Trails group was not the appropriate body to challenge the defunct Windsor Hants Rail Company. That is, I guess they're trying to purchase or lease. It's complex with CN, Windsor Hants Rail, Bob Schmidt, and the layers with the province, and now a municipality that's like, we need to do something with the intersection.
Right.
So they ruled that the Nova Scotia Department of Transportation Infrastructure Renewal would be the appropriate body to challenge. What would you do if elected?
Well, I would coordinate discussions with the relevant players, the Department of Transportation, the HRM, and the community, of course, to find out what the various plans are in progress for that intersection. And I would work closely with the HRM counselor to pull together those discussions.
Yeah, with the Uniac Trails group, their hope is to create active transportation routes and, but also multi-use trails as well. There's Beaver Bank is the largest ATV club in the province with 5,000 members, and a trail network where somebody could go to Windsor for lunch.
Yeah.
People could come down to the Beaver Bank station. Whether it's Windsor Junction, that section for the Capilano residents, you also have a connection to Second Lake Regional Park. You know, there's opportunities there that that'd be wonderful for the community, for tourism, and great opportunities that could happen. So
yeah, I like the way they've turned a lot of the old rail stations in Prince Edward, you know, the trails into hiking trails.
Yeah, I went this past weekend down to Tantallon for the Rails to Trails, and left Tantallon and cruised along and saw the beautiful scenery with the beaches and lakes, and made it all the way to Chester.
Really?
Yeah, Chester and back, and a nice slow ride. You're not beating up your machine.
Yeah.
Family friendly, you know.
Yeah.
You can take the kids, and good place for first-time riders, cyclists, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing. You know.
Be a long hike.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's great. We're just surrounded by beautiful lakes and forests, and you know, we just
And I think
utilize it.
there's one question I did want to ask that is just something to think about, and that's Beaver Bank doesn't have a beachfront, an official beachfront or public lake access. We have the side of the road down the ditch, no parking signs, 70-kilometer-hour trucks. It's not something the kids are going to bike to.
No.
You know, there's the crosswalk connections, a major infrastructure. That's a whole other thing. But if we have lakes and properties, even to have a little provincial park or a beach or some sort of area, it would really fulfill a need. You know, I see the Windsor Junction Community Center, and those volunteers work very hard to create a lovely space that I've enjoyed from when I remember I was a little boy.
Oh, at Dub J, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great area.
And then you look at Laurie Park where there's camping. Hey, could Beaver Bank have something like that? Probably. Could it just be a small picnic park with a beach? It'd be lovely as well. So that's, you know, something to think about consider.
At the Gordon Snow Center, and we didn't have, you know, that was open in 2009, and we didn't have any beach access, and now we do. They just made a little beach. They didn't have to take out too many trees, and they brought some sand in, and it's really nice. And they have a little dock
for launching. I was there.
Kids jump in.
Yeah, I went down for yoga there with Sheila and explored it a bit more. Because I've driven by it, and I've been in the gym, but I haven't done the around. And something like that can really just create a space.
Yeah, it's not a very big space, but it's perfect for Just, with a picnic table, and it's lovely.
Yeah, so the Monarch subdivision residents paid thousands of dollars for municipal water services out of their own pocket without any funding from the federal or provincial government, while other communities are now receiving substantial government support. What would you do as an MLA to see if there's anything the province can do now to lessen that burden for residents?
Well, I would talk to local residents, the HRM counselor, and Halifax Water, and the provincial government to find out what is available, what kind of government support there's available for the residents for municipal water. Definitely. It's happening in Fall River.
Yeah.
So it could happen here.
And it's certainly a complex multi-layer of government thing that needs a voice to find the information. And one of the biggest things for Beaver Bank, because we've been separated provincially, we have issues from North Beaver Bank, separated from Middle or South Beaver Bank. It's a large area, but it's the communication, bringing the communication from the different areas that they know what's going on. Because somebody in Woodbine feels separated from what happens at the community center. For them, that's a barrier.
Yeah.
That, I have to go and not have a crosswalk to get to my bus stop to get out if they don't have a car.
Right.
There's financial issues of those kinds of things that's why I say a little bit more for the Woodbine area. It's a large population, and to have a community space would be something fantastic.
Definitely.
So that's our half hour.
Okay.
I'd like to thank you very much. Is there any last sort of things you'd like to say? Well,
we did touch on Ivy Meadows, and I just wanted to talk about how it's owned and operated by a private company, which has had a contract with the province to provide long-term care beds. And this year the owners announced that they would not renew its contract, and they'll close in 2023 with the loss of 38 long-term beds, and the closure will put many residents out of work. So I just wanted to say that the NDP will invest any new public money in public and non-profit facilities rather than privately owned ones, and build a room for every resident in long-term care by 2030, and increase the minimum hours of care to 4 hours a day, and raise the wages of continuing care residents, assistants. And low wages are one reason that people are leaving the work.
And Ivy Meadows, certainly it's a hard loss.
Yeah.
I mean, it was built, it's there because it was a military base that was used for the Russians during the Cold War to detect missiles. That's why it was built. And so we've had a community there that Beaver Bankers have been able to live at. I went to school there, elementary, used the buildings, had a fire hall, a gymnasium. I don't know if it had a pool, but it was a great spot. It's sad to see that change now to an empty lot. I know the actual building requires a lot of maintenance, but anyway, it's a sad loss for the relationships that we did have. Kind of that for-profit continuing care. That's the kind of things that can happen. So I appreciate I appreciate you. Thank you very much for coming out and talking today. And so Beaver Bank has a little bit more knowledge and can gain a bit more interest in what's going on and what can be done. The official vote day is August 17th. The early poll is at the Beaver Bank Brown Hall. You can also vote from home. I will put a link in for the information that you can book for the ballot to come to you. The elector's office has hired people. So if you want that option to vote, call and make the appointment, and I'll post it in the description that they can come to you, but you got to book your spot. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, 12 days to go.
We pay for it. This is the system we have. Get out and vote. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.